Lily Carter was only 9 years old, but her eyes held the weight of someone who had seen too much too soon. Ever since the car crash that took both her parents 6 months ago, she had spoken less, smiled rarely, and spent most days in the quiet farmhouse she now shared with her grandmother, Eleanor, in the heart of the Midwest. One gray autumn afternoon, Lily wandered near the edge of the woods behind their property when she spotted something crumpled beneath the trees, a German shepherd motionless, his fur caked with blood and mud, one leg twisted unnaturally beneath him. He looked broken, forgotten. Something in the stillness of his body reminded Lily of her parents, of the moment she realized they weren't coming back. A sharp ache surged through her chest. What if this dog belonged to someone who loved him the way she loved Mom and Dad? She couldn't walk away. She knelt beside him, her breath hitching as she reached out a trembling hand. The dog's chest moved, barely. That was enough. In that moment, something silent passed between them, a shared understanding. Two beings, both wounded, not yet ready to give up. Lily wasn't strong enough to carry the injured dog, but she ran home as fast as her legs could carry her, breathless and muddy. "Grandma," she gasped, "there's a hurt dog. I think he's dying." Eleanor had never seen that kind of urgency in her granddaughter, not since the accident. Without hesitation, she grabbed her old first aid kit and followed Lily back into the woods. Together, they wrapped the dog in a thick blanket and gently lifted him into the back of Eleanor's wagon. Since Lily had come to live with her, she had never asked for anything. Not toys, not sweets, not even birthday cake. Seeing her beg now, with tears and dirt on her face, Eleanor didn't hesitate. She would do anything her granddaughter asked. Anything. The local veterinary clinic was barely hanging on when Eleanor called. The vet gently explained that they didn't have equipment or funding to care for a dog in such critical condition, offer pain relief, she said. "But he needs more than we can give." Lily's voice cracked. "Then can we take him home? I promise I'll help you. I'll do everything." Eleanor paused for only a moment. She wasn't a vet, but she was a nurse. And more than that, she was a grandmother who knew her quiet, grieving girl needed this. That night, they cleared a corner of the sunroom. Eleanor laid down an old mattress, while Lily gathered soft towels and bowls of warm water. The dog, now named Buddy, barely stirred as Eleanor cleaned each wound, her hands steady with experience. Lily sat cross-legged beside him, whispering encouragement, wiping away dirt with a cloth and fingers that trembled less each time. The first few days were the hardest. Buddy winced at every movement, shuddered at touch, and refused food. Eleanor prepared boiled chicken in small bites, and Lily stayed close, reading softly from her sketchbook and offering him water from her cupped hands. By the 5th day, Buddy managed a small growl, not of fear, but of instinct. A day later, his eyes followed Lily as she moved. She squealed with joy when his tail gave a slow thump on the floor. Healing came in fragile steps. Each morning brought a new sign, a lifted head, an attempt to shift positions, one paw bracing under his weight. Lily recorded it all with drawings, taping them to the sunroom wall like milestones, like hope made visible. 2 weeks in, Buddy stood up for the first time. Shaky and unsure, he swayed on his feet before sinking back down, exhausted. But to Lily it was a miracle, and after that, the walks began. First just to the porch, then the yard, and eventually down the gravel path by the cornfield. With each limping step Buddy took, Lily took 1, 2, out of the silence that had gripped her for months and back into the world. Before Buddy, Lily barely spoke to anyone. At school, she kept to herself. Teachers learned not to call on her in class. At recess, while other children shouted and chased each other across the blacktop, Lily sat alone under the maple tree near the fence, drawing quietly in her sketchbook. Some kids whispered weird, but most just ignored her. It wasn't that she didn't want friends. She simply didn't know how to talk anymore. Not after the funeral. Not after moving in with Grandma. Words felt too big, too sharp. But Buddy changed things. Every day after school, Lily ran home to the sunroom where Buddy waited, tail thumping softly. She talked to him about everything. How the clouds looked like dragons that day, how math made her stomach hurt, how sometimes she still dreamed of her parents and woke up crying. Buddy listened. He didn't need to speak. His warm eyes and slow, steady breathing told her he understood. Gradually, Lily's world opened up. She began waving at the mail carrier. She asked the librarian if she could borrow a book about dog training. She even helped a younger student tie her shoe one morning without being asked. At home, Eleanor noticed a difference, too. The silence that had wrapped their little farmhouse for months began to shift. Lily hummed while feeding Buddy, sometimes even singing quietly. One Sunday morning, she laughed, really laughed, when Buddy tried to chase a squirrel on 3 legs and fell into a pile of leaves. It was the first time Eleanor had heard that sound in half a year. She stood at the kitchen sink, dish towel in hand, heart aching with relief. There was still a long way to go, but Lily, who once shrank from the world, was slowly stepping back into it, with Buddy beside her every step of the way. By early spring, Lily had started joining more class activities, so when her school announced a picnic to the nearby state forest, she agreed to go. Her first field trip since her parents passed. The forest was familiar territory. It bordered the farmland behind her grandmother's house. Lily had walked those edges many times with Buddy, but that day he had to stay home. Dogs weren't allowed on the trip. She kissed his head before leaving. "I'll tell you everything when I get back, okay?" The weather had been warm all morning, sunlight flickering through new green leaves. But as afternoon approached, dark clouds gathered fast over the trees. Teachers quickly rounded up students to return to the buses. In the shuffle, Lily was separated from the group. She had wandered off to sketch a fallen log near a stream. And now, as the rain began to fall, she couldn't find her way back. Panic rose in her throat. Her shoes slipped in the mud as she called out, voice small and breaking, "Hello? Miss Carter?" But no one answered. Rain turned the trail slick. Trees blurred. Lily stumbled through the underbrush, heart pounding. She remembered what her grandmother had said once. "If you're ever lost, stay still. Let someone find you." So she sat down on a flat rock, curled into herself, shivering. "Buddy would know where I am," she whispered. And somehow he did. Minutes passed. Then the sound of snapping branches. Through the trees came a shape she knew by heart. Soaked and panting, Buddy emerged, limping but determined. He must have escaped the backyard and tracked her scent. Lily's eyes welled. "Buddy," she stood, legs trembling. But as she stepped toward him, her foot slipped on the slick moss. With a yelp, her body pitched forward toward the edge of the muddy slope. In that instant, Buddy surged into action. He launched himself forward with everything he had, pushing off with his good hind leg, ignoring the pain shooting through his body. He reached her just as gravity took hold. His chest slammed into her side, knocking her sideways mid-fall, and then he twisted beneath her in one desperate, instinctive motion. Lily landed hard on him. There was a sickening crunch as his body absorbed the full weight of her fall and the momentum of the drop. They tumbled together down the incline, mud flying, limbs entangled. When they came to a stop at the bottom, Lily was gasping, scraped and stunned, but alive. Buddy lay beneath her, motionless. His side heaved once, then fell still. "Buddy!" Lily's voice cracked as she leaned over him, brushing wet leaves from his muzzle. "Buddy, wake up, please." There was no response. His breathing was shallow, uneven. His side rose just barely with each breath. Mud clung to his fur, smeared with streaks of red. Lily's heart pounded wildly. Someone would find them soon. She knew that, but what if it was too late? No, you can't go," she whispered, voice trembling. She pressed her forehead to his. "You found me. You saved me. Now I have to save you." She remembered something she had read just a week before in a book about animal behavior. If someone's unconscious, talk to them. Let them hear your voice. Sometimes it brings them back. So Lily began to talk. She told Buddy about the squirrel he'd tried to catch, about the art contest coming up at school, about how she missed her parents, but how he'd helped her remember how to smile. Her words spilled out in broken pieces, mixing with tears, raindrops, and mud. "I love you," she whispered. "You're my best friend. Please don't go." She didn't know how long she sat there. Minutes, an hour. But her legs had gone numb, and her voice was gone when finally she felt it. A twitch just the smallest flick of Buddy's ear. Lily gasped, "Buddy?" His eyes fluttered weakly. Then a soft whimper. "Someone help!" she screamed, this time louder. "We're here." Voices, distant but growing louder, called through the forest. Within moments, teachers appeared, soaked from the storm, rushing toward her with medical kits and blankets. A teacher knelt beside her. "He's breathing. That's good. Let's get you both out of here." As Buddy was gently lifted onto a stretcher, Lily stayed close, gripping his paw. "I'm still here," she whispered over and over. "I'm still here." And in his half-lidded eyes, she saw it. Not pain, not fear, but trust. The animal hospital smelled like antiseptic and fear. Lily sat in the corner of the waiting room, legs curled to her chest, soaked hoodie wrapped tightly around her. She stared at the swinging doors Buddy had disappeared behind nearly an hour ago. Eleanor arrived minutes later, face pale, hands trembling as she hugged Lily. "They called me. I came as fast as I could." Lily buried her face in her grandmother's coat and finally let the sobs come. The vet, a kind woman named Dr. Ramos, emerged with tired eyes and muddy scrubs. "He's stable," she said gently, "but barely. His ribs are cracked. One lung was bruised. There's internal bleeding, but we stopped the worst of it. Now we wait." "Can I see him?" Lily whispered. Dr. Ramos hesitated. Just for a minute. He sedated, but hearing a familiar voice might help. The room was dim, machines beeping softly. Buddy lay still, tubes in his leg, bandages wrapping his chest. His fur had been cleaned, but Lily could still see the dried blood in the creases of his paws. She climbed onto the stool beside him and reached for his ear, stroking it with trembling fingers. "Hi," she said, barely above a whisper. "It's me." She talked. She told him how proud she was, how brave he'd been, how everyone at school was going to hear about the dog who jumped off a hill just to save his girl. "You're not just a pet," she said, voice cracking. "You're a family." Eleanor watched in the doorway, hand pressed to her mouth. After some time, Lily grew quiet. She rested her cheek against Buddy's shoulder. "I don't know how to be okay if you're not here," she said softly. "But if you're tired, it's okay. You don't have to fight." Silence. Then a twitch. Lily pulled back, eyes wide. Buddy's nose scrunched. His ear flicked once. "Grandma!" she cried out. He moved. Buddy didn't wake fully that night, but that small movement was enough. Dr. Ramos checked his vitals and smiled for the first time. "He's responding," she said. "That's a good sign." The next day, he lifted his head. The day after, he licked Lily's hand. Recovery wasn't quick. It took weeks. There were infections to fight, stitches to heal, bones to knit back together. But through it all, Lily came every afternoon after school, sitting by his side with her sketchbook. She drew him, sleeping, sitting, even yawning. And as Buddy got stronger, so did she. The story spread quickly across town. Not because Buddy was a hero, but because Lily had been won first. People learned how a 9-year-old girl had found a broken dog on the side of a country road and brought him back to life with bandages, drawings, and unwavering love. Then, how that same dog had later thrown himself down a muddy hill to save her. It wasn't just a rescue story. It was a circle of love and loyalty. The local paper ran the headline, "She saved him first." Then he returned the favor. The community responded in waves. Donations poured in, not just money but blankets, food, and carved with hand-drawn pictures of dogs and hearts. An anonymous note attached to one donation read, "For the dog who reminded us what bravery looks like." At school, classmates began to ask about Buddy. Even kids who had ignored her before now waved in the hallway. One afternoon, a shy boy in her art class said, "You're really brave." Lily blinked. "Me?" He nodded. "You never gave up." She thought about that later as she walked beside Buddy, who was finally strong enough for short strolls. His limp remained, but it didn't slow him down much. He trotted beside her like he always had, faithful, proud, whole in a way that wasn't physical, but something deeper. "I didn't give up," Lily whispered, mostly to herself. And with Buddy by her side, She didn't feel broken anymore. 1 month later, Buddy walked into Milestone Elementary with a vest around his chest that read, "Therapy Dog in Training." The idea came from Dr. Ramos herself. Seeing how Buddy responded to Lily not just physically, but emotionally, she saw something deeper. The makings of a therapy dog. He was calm, gentle, and highly attuned to people's feelings. Eleanor was hesitant at first, worried about the pressure. But Lily lit up at the thought. If Buddy helped me feel better, she said, maybe he can help other kids, too. Dr. Ramos made a few calls, contacted a nearby training center, and arranged for an evaluation. Buddy passed the temperament test with quiet dignity, even with his slight limp. He wasn't perfect, but he was present, and sometimes that's all a hurting heart needs. Granted special permission, and Dr. Ramos had volunteered to oversee his sessions. Twice a week, Buddy visited classrooms, lie beside anxious students during tests, or curling up near those who needed a quiet friend. Lily walked beside him, her own strides more confident now. She spoke when spoken to. Sometimes she even started a conversation. People smiled when they saw her, not out of pity, but admiration. At home, Eleanor watched the changes with quiet awe. She still carried the grief of Lily's parents deep within her. But watching her granddaughter find a voice again, watching Buddy limp less each day, felt like breathing new air after a long storm. One evening, Eleanor found Lily curled up on a living room floor beside Buddy. Sketchbook open, laughter bubbling in her throat. What's so funny? Eleanor asked. I drew Buddy with a superhero cape. Lily giggled, but I made it too long, and he tripped over it. Eleanor chuckled, lowering herself to the floor with effort. That's pretty accurate, she said. Real heroes stumble sometimes, too. Lily leaned her head on her grandmother's shoulder. Do you think Mom and Dad would be proud of me? She asked softly. Eleanor didn't hesitate. Oh, sweetheart, I think they're beaming. Silence fell between them, soft and full. Then Lily spoke again. You know, Grandma, the day I found Buddy, I thought I was saving him. And maybe you were, Eleanor replied. But he saved you, too. Lily smiled. Maybe that's what family is, people or dogs who don't let you stay lost. Eleanor pulled her close. Exactly that. And as Buddy yawned, resting his chin across both their laps, the living room filled with a peace that had been absent for far too long. There are stories that entertain us, and then there are stories that gently hold up a mirror, whispering, this could be you. Lily didn't plan to become a hero. She didn't set out to change a life. All she did was stop, open her heart, and say, I won't leave you. And in that moment, something changed, not just in Buddy, but in herself. And maybe that's what healing really is, not fixing what's broken, but choosing to love it anyway. We all carry pieces of pain, loss we haven't spoken about, fears we keep hidden, hope we're too afraid to name. But sometimes, all it takes is one gentle soul to remind us we're still worthy of connection. Lily didn't save Buddy because she was brave. She became brave because she chose to love. And Buddy? He gave her something just as powerful in return. Proof that even when life leaves you limping, you can still walk toward someone who needs you. So, if you've been silent too long, if your world has felt too quiet, too small, too broken, this story is for you. Because healing doesn't always arrive in hospitals or miracles. Sometimes it comes wrapped in muddy fur with a heartbeat that refuses to give up. And sometimes the love we give finds its way back to us.